In this tutorial, we will show you how to create a trading investment strategy based on the simple moving average crossover. Let me show you how it works. In investment strategies, we buy and sell the stock with a given price, which is the close, the price of the stock at the end of the day. Based on which conditions will we buy or sell the stock? Based on the close price, we will calculate the moving average based on 10 days prior and 20 days prior. We zoom in to understand better the context. In the first position we open, we buy the stock at 120. Why? Because the trend of the 10 moving average is going to surpass the 20 moving average, which indicates that over time the price of the stock will increase. When do we sell this position? Based on the inverse condition, that the 10 days moving average underpass the 20 days moving average. Remember that the price at which we buy or sell the stock is based on the close price. We reset the axis to observe how the strategy will perform over time with the buys and close positions. At the end of this investment strategy, we get a return of 1.17%. Now let me explain to you step by step how we develop the full process to create this investment strategy and get the performance report. First, we download the dataset of the S&P 500. We'll focus this practical case from 2005, a few years after the dot-com bubble, until the end of 2020. Based on the previous data frame, we will filter the rows to be from 2020. We execute. There we have the rows we wanted. Now we save it into a variable. Now we copy the resulting data frame into a new variable. Out of these columns, we will focus on the close price. We work only with the close column. We select it, copy it into a new variable that we will call df cross. Now we can visualize the close price and calculate the columns for the simple moving average 10 days prior and 20 days prior. We get inside the column close. We hold the rolling for 10 days. This value references the windows that we want to use as the rolling. And now we apply the mean calculation. We save it into a new variable of the data frame. We open the brackets, SMA1. We execute. We look inside df cross. There we have the new column. If we produce a plot, there we see the two lines. We do the same for 20 days prior, SMA2 and rolling 20. We execute. We see the new column here. We produce the plot, and there we see the three lines. To observe better the differences, we will look at some specific year, such as the 2005. So the F cross plot, but instead of observing the full historical data, we will focus on the 2005. 252 days. We plot them, and there we see how the trends cross pass each other. In the following part of this tutorial, we will develop the investment strategy and get the performance report. This example is inspired in the official Backtesting.py documentation. If you click on this link, you will see the full tutorial explained in another way. To produce backtesting strategies, we will work with the backtesting library. Inside the library, we have many elements that we can work with. Nevertheless, two of them are essential. Those are the strategy and the backtest. The backtest will help us produce the report of the investment strategy that first we need to create using a class. We create a custom name for the class, for example SMA cross, which must inherit the strategy class that we previously imported to have the elements of the library at our disposal to produce the backtesting report later. Within this class, there are two important functions. One of them is init, and the other one is next. Inside the init function, we will declare the curves that we are working in the simple moving average investment strategy. Any indicator that we create in the function init must be created with the self to work later in the next function, which will include the conditions to buy or sell the stock. In this case, if the first moving average surpasses the second one, we will buy one stock. On the other hand, if the second moving average surpasses the first one, we will close the position that we opened before. Now let me explain to you how this function I works. This function receives another function, SMA, which is the one that we create here, and receives the values, which are the close price of the day, to later calculate the rolling based on n number of days, which is n1 for the first moving average, and we need to define it here. n1 equals 10, then n2 equals 20. Now the investment strategy has been created, we execute these lines of code, and we are ready to run the backtest. If we use the element we imported before, we ask the documentation, which asks for the data frame that we will use, the investment strategy, the amount of money that we will have at the beginning of the strategy, the commissions, the margin, trade on close, edging, and exclusive orders. If you want to know how to use these parameters, you may look down the documentation where they explain it very well. We will use this configuration for simplicity, the data frame of the SP500, our investment strategy that we created above, $10,000 as the initial amount, $0 in the commission, and trade on close equals true. We execute, nothing happens because the backtest is a class that we need to use to run the function that will reproduce the investment strategy on this dataset. We execute, we get the performance report that if we convert to a data frame, we get 30 rows, we style it to get the many values that we see here. Nevertheless, we will only focus until the return in percentages. So log returns. There we see that our investment strategy applied from 2005 until 2020, and we got 1.17% of return. For the backtest report, we can get the results in this table, but also we can use the function plot and produce the dashboard of the investment strategy. We can see the profit and losses we got for each operation across the full period of the data frame from 2005 until 2020. Some people may not get this dashboard within the Jupyter Lab. If that's the case, you should use the file name parameter. You put a name to the file, for example, report HTML. You execute, and you will see the dashboard in a new tab of your computer. If you don't know how to interpret all of the elements of this dashboard, don't worry, because we will explain it later in a tutorial. Nevertheless, if you want to access the granular information of these operations, you will have it on the Python object. After you run the backtest report, you get an element which is trades. If you access this element, you will see the data frame with 98 rows, which are the operations of your investment strategy. You bought the stock at an entry price and sell it at an exit price, based on which you had a profit or loss. Now, in the following tutorial, I will show you step by step how to compute the investment strategy by hand instead of using the backtesting library.